Perfect. I see us live on YouTube and Facebook.
Awesome. Good morning. It's still morning, right? Yep, still morning.
Still morning, so I'm going to wait a second before I get us kicked off and going. On YouTube. Okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and get us kicked off and going as people are starting to hop on here with us. Please make sure that you hit that like button and start giving us some comments so we know who you are that's tuning in, and so I can give you some shout outs for spending a portion of your morning with us. I'm not entirely sure how many folks that we're going to get. I know Akram before him and I hopped onto the broadcast we were talking about. I don't know who hasn't stayed up yesterday. And so for those of you that are watching this in real time, thank you for tuning into the broadcast. And then if you end up watching this on replay, please give us that hashtag replay so I know that you tuned in at a later point in time, which is totally fine. Most of you understand these videos are available to you at any point in time to watch in the video section of our Facebook page. They're also available on our YouTube channel, Westminster Chamber of Commerce, where you can find them dating back into March. So at any point in time, you can definitely binge watch or catch up on that favorite speaker, topic, or resource that's available to you. Now, we have transitioned back our programming really starting this week into providing you with either resources or letting you know about some tips or suggestions that you can implement in your business, especially since holidays are gearing back up this time of the year. And obviously with case counts going up, then we need to kind of be thinking of alternative ways that we can continue to do business and survive during this time. So with that, most of you know I'm Juliette Abdel, President and CEO of the Westminster Chamber of Commerce. Pleased to welcome you guys today. If you're a first-time viewer, make sure that you hit the like button, you hit the follow so you can get those timely alerts when we do go live. And if you are coming back to us, thank you for coming back. It shows us that you are engaging and that this is a value and informing, and we haven't snoozed you out completely. So with that, I want to go ahead and just introduce kind of today's topic. And today really is focused about one of our 3 networking groups that we have within the chamber. Here with us today, I actually have Akram Hassan, who's a member of ours, has been for, I want to say about 2 years now in the financial advising world, but he holds a leadership role with us actually for one of the 3 leads groups that we have. So Akram, this is really going to be pretty informal between you and I, and I'm going to rely on a lot of the folks that are starting to hop in to ask us any questions that they may have, or it just will end up being me interrogating you the whole time. So that
either way, let's do it.
Right. So I'm going to go ahead and mute myself, but I want you to kind of share with us a little bit about, your role and then the group that you are associated with.
Awesome. Well, thank you for the introduction, Juliette. So again, I just lead the Tuesday morning Go-Givers leads group. So we meet every Tuesday morning at 8 a.m. at previously at Zoe's Coffee, but now on and off through Zoom. And what we do during our morning groups, it's a little bit more than just networking with other business members and other members of the leads group. It's more about getting to know each other on a personal level as well. So kind of the structure of the meeting goes open networking the first few minutes while everyone grabs their coffee or their breakfast and just kind of getting ready for the hour-long period that we're together. And then we'll have a short period of time where every business can have, call it a 30-second commercial. So whether it's an update, whether it's a small little commercial about yourself and your business, you'll have that time to do that during every meeting. And then we go on to sharing what individual events that are going on from each business. If someone's having, say, call it a fundraiser, if you will, with a nonprofit, giving us the details so we could go there and support each other, or sharing events that the chamber's actually holding. That way I know and say, oh, one of my members from my leads group is going, so we'll tag up and try to go together. It's always nice to attend these events knowing that someone else I know is going to be there. And then we go on to sharing what type of business was generated, cross-business leads generation or things like that. kind of sharing some kudos and successes for the previous week. And then we go into, which is, I think, one of the most important parts of the leads group is a business highlight. Every member has about 20 to 30 minutes to have a highlight for their individual business that allows us to get to know them more on a personal level or certain aspects of their business. So that's pretty much it. Then we leave off, we say our goodbyes, and we get ready for the next week. So any additional questions there?
Yeah. So, and it seems like a lot of things that you guys do. And one would think, like, as you're going through all this stuff and you're like, okay, this is great. Like, I'm going there, I'm grabbing coffee, I'm getting to connect with folks, I'm hearing updates in the chamber, hearing what our other peers are doing. We're checking and making sure that we're connecting and supporting each other, that this takes like a lengthy time. So what does that look like time commitment wise for folks that are associated with that group? Like, are you going for a full week and it's lasting that entire morning? Or, what does that boil into?
So it's an hour long. It's just an hour long meeting, and call it the beginning and the end are the two longest portions, if you will. While everyone shares their kind of 30-second commercials, that takes up to about 10 to 15 minutes or so. And then that business highlight, again, it's about 20 to 30 minutes. So we have actually been really good at doing it within that hour time strain. The rest of the kind of sharing information, that typically happens over a minute or two, where it's just kind of quick, hey, this is going on, this is going on. So we just take notes and go.
And then as far as, so the folks that are part of this group, right? So we mentioned a little bit about chamber events that are coming out, events that they have going on. Who is that? Like, let's identify, like, we had a great topic yesterday. We actually had an expert, Peter Brissett, visit about, how are you creating content and how to identify who you're trying to target and things, right? So if I have like that avatar, or if I have like a picture of who that person is that's in your group, what does that look like?
The picture of the person that's in the group, really tough question to answer, but let me see if we could get closer to there. It's honestly like a mixture of folks. There isn't anyone that's not really trying to answer it. It's more like it's a very eclectic group. So there's everyone from, say, roofing and construction to insurance to restaurants, coffee, of course, independent product distributors. So if you're in sales or services or something that's client facing, I think that might be a good summary of the majority of the folks in our group.
That actually answers the question. I was trying to get you to go a little bit in detail about, like, industry specific, because it's one of those questions that people will ask is, can anyone just join the group? And it really does go back to if there is a fit in their category, right? And part of the reason do you want to talk on a little bit of like part of the reason why we do that, or what some of the compliments might be whenever you're building that diversity in the members that are affiliated with the group?
Sure. So I'll speak, I guess, from our host's point of view, right? Zoe's Coffee, right? Great coffee and great place. Thank them a lot. I want to give them a huge shout out for hosting us for so long and being so flexible. For example, if I'm meeting with, say, a new person that wants to join the leads group, a prospect, a client, whoever it is, and saying, hey, I get coffee there every Tuesday morning. The coffee's great. Have you tried it? They say no, and we'll go there and we'll meet there, and they get exposed to kind of a new place to get coffee at. And then it might transition to the awesome croissants that they have, or whatever it is from a coffee shop perspective. So that's one example. Another example can be, say, someone in financial services that needs to connect with, say, a lawyer, a tax accountant, or things like that. So you have complementary categories that oftentimes work together. Or say, maybe a GC, right, with a real estate agent. So the combinations are almost infinite, but there are many complementary categories. And I think that's why it's important to make sure we're filling the categories and not doubling up as well.
Yeah. And I love what you said about that, right? It is these partners that you just kind of create, and it becomes more of like your individual toolkit. So as you're visiting people, you kind of become that unique expert of, here's all these other people and resources that I can direct you to, or here's other folks that can help you with your needs. And it makes you like a better professional for that. So we touched a little bit about the this leads group being a little bit different, right? And it's different in regard to most of the time when you think about leads or networking groups, it is just referral based and generation. You guys have always been somewhat atypical, and you've implemented a few different things. And I can think back to like books that you guys have done and some of those. Do you want to elaborate on a little bit of some of that ingenuity that your group has done?
Absolutely. So call it fourth quarter of 2019, right? And again, this is part of the benefits of the Leads group was we brought in a guest speaker to talk about coaching and how we could better ourselves in meeting goals, increasing sales and things like that. And we took what that guest speaker provided us, and then we went out to breakout sessions over the next couple of meetings to see how can we individually help each other and partner together as a unit and as a team and grow our businesses together, whether it's through lead generation, doing co-seminars, co-events, even having a table together at, say, a fundraiser or maybe the Westminster, Wine and Sip? Yeah, so different, right? How can we work together to better achieve our goals for 2020? Out of the gates, we were firing in 2020, but then obviously COVID hit. So we had to adjust from there. But that's kind of an example of what things that we've done. And since I'm on that subject, I could talk about how we've changed, right? So, COVID 2020 hit, COVID hit, and we had to take kind of a break and step back. We took a couple of weeks off to try and figure out what we can do. So we tried Zoom, and first two meetings were kind of just open, trying to test the software, and just talk to each other, be there and support. After 2 weeks of doing that, we went back to original kind of structure, if you will. But it started with just providing support, and it was awesome when we all got back on camera, and it was like, oh my God, how have you been? Even though it's only been like 3 weeks, but it's that tight bond and those tight relationships that you develop over time with your Leads group members and, I guess, co-members, if you will.
And so what does that look like today, Akram? So we said as soon as COVID unfolded, we had to, we took some time off, we had to assess everything. And then you really took health and safety into consideration, and you guys transitioned to that virtual component. And yeah, I think it was clunky for a lot of people, right? We're now so much more busier, I think, because it's so much easier to hop on from one Zoom to the next that I feel like nobody has that time to breathe. That being said, initially it was very clunky, right? Like, which meeting is how do I get this set up and going? And then now that you're on this, but we saw a refit, like an opening, somewhat of an opening of some of our businesses. You all still transitioned once again after that.
Absolutely. We took direction from our host, right? We always want to be there and support. So when they were allowed to open and bring people back, we definitely we're a tight-knit group, right? And we welcome all new members, and that's how we make them feel welcome, to call it our Leads group family, if you will. So as soon as Zoe's Coffee was able to allow people, they kind of tested it and seen how we could either sit outside, how we could mitigate social practices, keep in compliance with social distancing, wearing a mask, sanitizing table. So what we did is not to overwhelm them. We did a hybrid where 1 week was on Zoom and the next week was in person, in order to allow them to kind of, A, not be overwhelmed, and B, slowly able to up the tempo. And then as we started to transition and wanting to transition to going back just in person on a weekly basis, it started to get colder, so we had to do adjustments there, but also new restrictions came down. So now we've adjusted, and we're giving, again, the business some time to get some heaters and make sure we're in compliance, because we don't want to put our hosts at any risk, right? But we still want to meet, and we still want to drive our businesses forward through networking. So it's having the tools available and just being flexible. I would have to say that this group has been super, super flexible, especially with last minute changes. And I think that's one of the key things when joining a networking group. Just make sure, or one of our Leads group, just make sure you're flexible and open-minded, because the only thing that's guaranteed is change in our world, right? So just be ready, but we'll definitely make it happen one way or another.
Right. No, totally. I get that. I see Sean Kaiser. Thank you for hopping on, Sean, and letting me know that you're on here. I also see my dad. He's been watching since the start, which is always fun. But Akram, I think you've been plugged in to other networking groups and types of, get-togethers outside of just our chamber prior to even coming to us, and even maybe afterward. Often a lot of the people that are very plugged into our organization are generally plugged into the community at large. I guess I would ask you, and this is a curveball, right? Like
Go for it.
you don't know any of these questions that I'm throwing at your way, but what is one thing that resonates most with you out of this group that you've continued to see? You've been here for 2 years with us, and you immediately joined the group. I think it was several months into your membership, and then you stepped up into that leadership role, and you obviously saw something, and you're like, oh, I'm totally willing to take that up, or you just didn't show up and they volunteered you. But whichever is the case, we want to know.
Earlier. So I want to start with essentially the who, right, of the group. I've said the who and the members, right? I think, and I'm going to quote Judy here first, and then I'll answer that question. So Judy Pepper, the owner of Zoe's Coffee, sent me, and I want to quote her. It says, as a leads group, you do get a good feel for the individual and their businesses, which gives you confidence in referring them. And that goes to the saying that by being a part of the leads group, you get a deeper picture on who is that person behind the business. For example, let's say, I know you had Sherry Lewis on here, right? I know her on a deeper level. So when I refer her business, I'm not just referring, hey, they're a great Windows company, right? Hey, you've got to talk to Sherry. Ask her about her pictures. Ask her about the philanthropy work she works with. So I get to know them on a deeper level. For example, Pat Farrell, she's an all-time member of the group, right? She's our go-to person on anything chamber-related activities, right? But getting to know her on a personal level. What's her history? Where has she came from? How long has she been with Shackley? Talking about her really big family and her close, tight-knit grandkids that she loves, right? So when we refer someone with intent and with confidence. And plus, going back to my earlier point, all of those, if you just joined the chamber, right, and you just do leads group and nothing else, you're not really taking full advantage of your membership. So isn't it awesome to have a really good connection to those people that you're with in your leads group, but then when you go to like a business after hours, someone on a really deep level, and then they can introduce you to the people that they know, and vice versa. And when I go introduce to someone, say another leads group member, say, hey, they're in my leads group, I know them from this and this, and then you can engage in further and deeper conversation than just, hey, this is Johnny and he's a banker, and the conversation stops there. Instead, hey, this is Johnny, he's a banker, he has a 5-year-old who plays soccer at our club, he does this, and they do. So you get to come up with some awesome, I guess, what is it called? Similarities between each other, because you do know them at a deeper level. And I think that's one of the biggest benefits here.
I agree with you on that. I think, it especially when we're sending people into other folks' homes, right? That gets really personal pretty fast. Or when you're sending someone to them that's handling their finances or their health, like that is all personal information. And so if you don't really know them, and you're just referring them over there just to say that, oh, this person can handle this service for them, you're kind of putting them in a position of, you're putting a lot of trust on that person whenever you're referring them. And so it's nice to see that you guys build that rapport and you go past just understanding the person. You really take it a step further in understanding their home environment and their dynamics with those kids. And it gives you a sense of really understanding them past that professional side of it.
Absolutely.
So leads groups are generally pricey, right? Like folks are paying a lot for networking groups. They end up paying a specific annual fee that's there just to affiliate with a referral. Ours is a little bit different. And so do you want to touch a little bit on that as far as, can people join if they're not affiliated with our organization, et
I would always refer to you on that question.
cetera? Yeah. Oh, this is going to be nice. Yes. So,
Let's see if we could come, I guess, a test here, right?
this is really good to know. Yeah, I'm like, this is a Q&A. I'm betting your current leadership role. No. Well, one of the great things, right, is that it's already included in their membership, right? So at any of our 3 membership levels, people can affiliate with a leads group. It's not an additional fee like some organizations, and it's not a specific amount that you're paying just for the leads component. That's just an added benefit to it. So cost-wise, when you're comparing just kind of affiliating with one function of that in comparison to our membership, we end up being a lot lower. But to that point, one of the things that you really touched on, which you did so without me pushing you to do it, was that outside of the leads group, folks can use their membership further, right? And so it creates more value in the long run because now you have this core group of people that are always referring people to you, but then you're still coming out to programs and events together. You're still utilizing the benefits that are available to the chamber through your chamber membership more. I think that's very valuable to know. So when folks are hesitant right now, why should they still continue to network, especially in leads groups that are smaller and intimate? You mentioned the sanitary practice that Zoe's doing. What are you sharing as far as concerns for people that might be concerned, or if people are on the fence about getting involved during this time?
Well, I think your model has them where a new member who's thinking about joining, you have them visit as a guest. Right. And if you're still not comfortable on going in person, there's always the online option. We're always going to have the Zoom option going forward, especially for those, let's say I'm out and working out of town for a couple of weeks. I still want to be involved. So we'll still have some sort of hybrid Zoom and in-person kind of session as well. So I'd always recommend to check it out, at least as a guest. And furthermore, again, I go back to the point of what better way to take advantage of your membership than not going to a lot of these events blindsided or just not knowing anyone. It's a lot more comfortable and it's easier to network when you already know a few people because you've met them through, say, a leads group.
I agree about that. Well, we've talked on a lot of things. And for those of you that are just now hopping on, we have Akram with us. He is our leadership over for the Go Givers, which is our leads group that meets every Tuesday. Generally over at Zoe's with COVID, it kind of morphed into an online platform. Now we're in a hybrid position where I believe you guys are still doing every other week, right? Where you're 1 week in person, the next week on virtual, or have you altered that?
So we've altered it for the interim because it's been a little bit colder, and we're allowing Zoe's Coffee to kind of just get adjusted and get some heaters and things like that to make sure we're all still warm and can go back to every other week.
You mean you don't want to freeze over breakfast?
No.
Just hanging out there, the coffee isn't warming you up enough.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and then another point to the earlier question is, new members that are hesitant, it's something that we've got out of earlier in 2020 when COVID kind of unraveled itself, is what each individual was doing with their business, and we were able to help each other out. So I was gathering ideas from, say, Zoe's, right? And from Sherry and Pat and Jason and Michael and everyone else that's in our group, right? So we've shared the ideas on what we're doing and how we're adjusting. And by sharing these ideas, I was able to pick up on things maybe I could be doing a little bit better, or to better serve my clients, if you will. So it's a lot of that too. Like if you're hesitant, just again, join in as a guest and ask us questions.
And you guys have been growing. I want to say in the last couple of months, you've had a variety of people that have come out as guests and several that have actually, after coming out as guests, that they've enjoyed the group enough that they've stayed. And I think that's part of it, right? Is that I always tell folks that even if your category is open, right? So if you are a seamstress and there is an opening for you in all 3, but if you are, please join our group. Like I'm always looking for seamstresses, so side note. But if that is an open category, we tell them to go out and basically go and meet the people, because if they're not connecting with you and if there's no rapport with Pat or Akram or any of the people in the group, it's going to be a lot harder, right? It's like it's not going to feel natural or comfortable for you to talk about them and brag about them and share all the great things about them as well. So it does help.
Yeah. We also like to have fun too. So our facts of the day or questions of the day, they're always fun and they're always engaging. So it's part of, if you come in as a guest, I'm sure you'll get a good laugh because everyone in the group is very lighthearted. And, you know, again, as a group, we like to have fun. So guests are always welcome. And I haven't had a guest that I met with after the group that came that say that at least did not enjoy or did not enjoy their time. And I haven't had anyone say it was a waste of their time. So you've got nothing to lose. Come in, have a good laugh, enjoy yourself, and check out the group.
Yeah, that is an awesome, that's awesome feedback. And I was glad that you shared that testimonial about Judy and some from Pat as well. And for those of you that are curious, you know, we do have 3 leads groups. I did shine some light over at our Tuesday morning one. We have another that meets every Thursday and then a third that meets on the first and third Thursday of the month. So 3 different groups with 3 different options. If your category is open in all 3, if it's open only in one, then that is the one that you belong in. So it works out. We have Brian Head hopping on here, who's just kind of sharing that he's joining in late, and good morning to us both. Thank you for hopping on here, Brian. I know he was plugged in and actually led the originals group, which is the other leads group, for some time before he transitioned into his chair role with the chamber. And I think that also, before I segue completely out, and this is like me being a squirrel, I talked to you about this earlier, have not slept very well. So pardon me, I'm all over the place. But one of the great things about leads group participation and moving yourself up into a leadership role, whether it's in a leads group, in a committee, or volunteering, is that you have an opportunity of upward mobility, right? And so we see a lot of those individuals that have volunteered with our organization transition into board director positions that we have, should they have an interest. And in fact, our board applications are still open until Friday. So if there's anyone that's tuning in and watching this and either wants to self-nominate or knows a business professional that should be applying themselves in the capacity for governance, our board does a lot of things, and they are very plugged in, especially with COVID right now. So just have to give that shout out. I know that we are coming close to the 30-minute mark, so I usually start to do some final remarks before I round it out. Do you have any final words before I start doing those final remarks? You have to stay with me until I'm done with those.
I will stay. I won't just leave you hanging and off. But no, check out one of the 3 leads group. There's plenty of flexibility between all 3, so at least check it out as a guest and get to know your other Westy chamber members.
And Akram, if people want to reach out to you directly about this, is there an email? Is there a phone number that you want to leave us with that I can just kind of post it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you could find me on the directory of the chamber directory, right? All the information is there, so use it. I had to get better myself of using the calendar as well. So
right.
Yeah, just refer to the chamber calendar. I'm also, being a millennial, it's great. I answer to text messages. I know how to use that.
Oh.
So I could, whatever you need me to do, if you want me to drop an email, there's a chat box. You could more than welcome to do that, or drop my direct contact as well. More than welcome to do that.
Excellent. So I will go ahead and at least get your phone number typed in here. Hopefully it's the most accurate one that I'm pulling. So people can see that. And if it's not, then we know that you need to get on there and get it updated. But if you have any questions about this broadcast, about Akram's experience in the role that he's in, or just in general, I know I prefaced it by saying that outside of this, he does have another job that he does for a living. So if you have any questions as it relates to that component of his world, please reach out to him directly. We are nearly to our 30-minute mark, which means that I unfortunately have to close out. We'll be back here tomorrow at 11 a.m. Tomorrow's broadcast is especially beneficial. It is our nonprofit corner, but I am bringing in the American Red Cross that represents Colorado and Wyoming. They are going to be sharing a wealth of information on what they've done in response to the fires that are taking place all across the state, and then ways that we can all get plugged in and support their cause. So tune in tomorrow at 11 a.m. and hang tight. I know a lot of folks are on edge today. I just hope that you guys take it easy and have that peace of mind and calmness as much as you can. Take those mental breaks. breaks, go out for a walk, clear your mind from everything. You might need to disconnect social unless you're rewatching this and sharing it out to the folks in your network. So with that, I just want to go ahead and thank you guys for tuning in, and thank you, Akram, for being on here with us. Have a wonderful day.
Juliet.